Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Paez from the Waldorf University women's team in Iowa. Welcome, Coach.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, it's that December 1st craziness that we're talking on. So your season's wrapped up, and I'm guessing you're full swing into the recruiting process. Um, so when is it that you guys are really starting to talk to players? Kind of what you're in high school, and what are you focused on now? Is it the 23 class? Is that wrapped up? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we're focused on the 2023 class. We're constantly recruiting year round, so we can bring somebody in as early as when they become a junior, like from when they finish their sophomore year all the way up until July, August, if they wanted to commit late. So, I mean, we have a good amount of time to recruit for.
Yeah, for sure. Well, are there tournaments that are kind of on your must hit list throughout the year that you guys like to recruit at?
Um, it depends on like the preference. So this is my first year at Waldorf. So um, there's nothing specific that we want to go to. It's more we just hit it all because we want to be able to provide opportunity to kids that might not get an opportunity. So for us, yeah, we want to be competitive and everything, but at the same time, we want to provide opportunity to kids that not only want to get an education but would like to continue playing at a higher level also.
No, that's great. Well, and you mentioned those opportunities. I mean, I would say this is just a personal observation, but I mean, your roster, you guys have people from all over the place,
Exactly.
and in some instances, that's almost a rarity in NAI women's soccer for to have such a wide breadth of folks from places. So how do you, I mean, is that something you guys are purposefully looking to do? Is that just kind of how it's shaken out? What help me
Um,
out understand that?
yeah, I mean, it all depends on the individual. Like, I mean, you see our roster, we have people from Zimbabwe, we have a girl from Brazil, I think one from Colombia who moved to Florida. We have another, I don't know if I said Peru, but we have another one supposed to be coming from Canada. We have one from the UK. I mean, we have a few from Hawaii and then all across the US. For us, diversity is extremely important. It opens up the girls to new cultures, new ideas. The more personalities, even as a coach, the more personalities you get to know, the more personalities you can relate to later on, and you can adjust to situations. So if you're like, oh, this is normal in, you know, let's say Hispanic culture. Oh, okay, well, you can't treat somebody that's a Hispanic the same way that you would treat somebody that's from the UK. So it's really good because the girls get to learn how to communicate with just a variety of people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in terms of other places you're seeing players, do you guys run your own camps? Do you or your staff work other camps? How do they fit in?
So at the moment we don't have camps. So a lot of it is us going out and just, we build a name within the community, which is nice. The head coach has done a really good job of that in the past few years. Just by doing little things like community service in town, going to, we'll help work like football games at like, I believe like Minnesota or even in Iowa. Just little ways that we can help out here and there. I know like once a month we go and we'll help like one of the local mom and pop shops in town. So just to help her clean, and it saves her like 8 hours of cleaning and we get it done in 30 minutes. So for her it's a big deal. For us it's 30 minutes of work. But it's little things like that that we do to try to get our name out to the community, since we're a smaller school in Iowa that not many people know about.
Sure. Well, whether it's at a game that you're scouting or through whatever methods you're employing the most, what kind of makes up the hierarchy of things that you're looking for in a player, whether that's on the field stuff or off the field stuff?
Yeah, so the first thing, like, being college, academics are huge. You can't have athletics without academics. So if you're not passing your classes, you just naturally you can't play. So for us, it's like the things that you can control as a player. We don't necessarily Yeah, we always want those good players, but first off, they have to fit our culture. So, they have to be able to have a good work rate. And for us, that's, in the classroom, on the field, relationships. So if they're communicating well with their teammates, they're listening to what their teammates need, if they're showing up to practice on time, if they're not missing weights, they're going to classes, it's extremely important. So like those are things they can control. Their work rate, focus, as I was saying, communication, listening. So also a player that's willing to learn. If they're a sponge and just absorb what we try to teach them, that's all things they can control. We're not going to tell them to go out and score 3 goals. We're not going to tell them to block every shot. To us, that's unrealistic. So if they put in their work and their focus and their effort, we as coaches will do the same in return.
Okay. Well, one of the questions on us parents' minds is usually, okay, what's this going to cost? So can you, and I'm not holding you any hard numbers here, but can you just give me an overview of what, tuition and fees and all that stuff kind of looks like, but also what the financial aid, scholarships, whether those are academic or athletic, kind of what that situation looks like?
Yeah. So tuition is 23,000 a year. Fees, I think it's like 1,400. And then depending on the dorm that you live at, I would say 6 to 8K. So, we obviously help out with academic and athletic scholarship. We combine them, which is nice. And then if a kid is in the US and gets FAFSA, just deduct that amount and how much they're willing to take out, whether they're getting Pell or loans or something else. And then, if they don't, then obviously the academic and athletic scholarship will be that portion.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. As you mentioned, some folks may not be familiar with Waldorf there in Iowa. So, I know you've been there a year or a season at least now. So
Yeah.
besides what I'm going to learn on the website, what are some really cool things that you found about Waldorf?
So me being from California, I've grown up in big cities and big areas where everything's really close and there's a lot to do. However, with that, there tends to be a drop off in friendliness. So, being in a smaller town, it's definitely a change of pace for me. The way of life is just a lot slower. People are naturally more friendly. For me, that's kind of enjoyable because, I don't walk down the street and like no one gives me the middle finger, like, so it's nice to know that like when I'm driving my car, people wave at me. I'll go to random stores and have random conversations with people. So it's just like a different environment that is really enjoyable, which is why I like where I'm at. And I think the kids see that as well in the culture and the community. And then for Waldorf itself, we're a small school and I would say our class sizes are like 15 to 20 students per class. It probably dwindles down more when you get into your major, but I mean, that just means a lot of more individual help, which is nice. A lot of one-on-one time, and the teachers are more than or professors are more than willing to help out as much as possible. They want to see the kids succeed. They'll do what they can. They're always willing, whether it's extra time or if there's something, if they do bad on a test, like just keeping good relationships with them, like that's extremely important. So the teachers care. Obviously, as us as coaches, we care too. We're going to help them out as much as possible, whether it's finding a tutor or helping them out with their homework if they need it or have questions. Like we're always going to, it's just a different community compared to like a bigger city.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's walk back a little bit to the season. Can you take me through what a typical week would look like for a player in terms of when's class, when's practice, meals, travel for games, that kind of thing?
Of course. Yeah. So classes run 7:30 or 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. We schedule practice around that and our games. So, or try to, obviously, like if we have a game on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, obviously they're going to miss classes. I'll send out an email letting our athletic department know like, hey, these kids are going to be excused. They're coming to the game. They'll send out an email so they're cleared for classes. So, they're excused from their classes, which is nice because I know that question asked comes up a lot. But yeah, so for typical days, like we'll schedule practice around class schedules. So sometimes we'll have early morning practice at 5:30 and the girls will be out by 6:30 or 7. If we're on the grass, we'll tend to practice at like 4. So then we'll be done maybe 5:30. Other times, depending on if we're on the turf in the afternoon, we'll probably practice like maybe 6:30. So practices are an hour to an hour and a half. It depends on the day. We like to prioritize our schedule. So, if we do have a game, we're doing recovery the next day. We don't want to overdo their bodies, especially with the rigorous season. So yeah, that's kind of, I would say, how a typical day or week would go for the girls.
Okay. Well, earlier we talked about academics. So how do your players really balance the academic side and the athletic side, and what kind of support systems does the school have in place to help them with that?
Yeah. So I know each kid has a advisor that they can go to if they have questions. That's the first thing is, they have support there from the school itself. For us, we have study tables twice a week. So your first year, if you're a freshman, like that's always the toughest year. And so we require them to go to study tables. It's an hour and a half each day. And so that will also be scheduled around practice and school. So everybody should be able to make it. If they're not, they have to communicate it to us and they have to make up the study tables. So after, I believe, after a freshman's first year, as long as they're above a 3.0 overall, they are not required to go to study tables. Some will still go because, that's their designated time to get homework done. So it's nice to see that girls don't just like skip it. They actually enjoy it because that's their time where they can focus. We put their phones at the front, face down on the table, so they have no distractions. They focus on their books. So we as coaches try to do our due diligence to help make sure that they have a set time where they can always get homework done. As I was saying earlier, like if they do have questions, like they can always come to us. Like I helped a girl this past season on one of her papers because she had questions and didn't know how to go about it. It was good to know that, and she ended up getting an A on it. So, we'll give them advice. We won't write the paper for them, obviously, but we'll be like, hey, like if I was writing this paper about myself, this is how I would go about it. Now you have to figure out how to fill that in for yourself. So we'll give them the direction. As I said, we'll find tutors for them. We'll make sure that they have the support that they need.
Okay, that's great. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the team. In terms of each season, is there a roster size that you guys find is ideal that you're trying to hit each year?
Yeah, so ideally we want a roster of 30. This past season will dictate that and why we do, because so originally the rigorous of college soccer is a lot more than people understand. When you have some weeks when you have four games in a week, like people don't understand how hectic that is and the amount of toll it takes on your body and the amount that you need to recover. So we'd like to have a roster of 30 for a lot of reasons. The first one, if we are able to scrimmage, we can scrimmage a full 11v11. We have 8 subs just in case. From there, injuries, sickness, family matters, those things happen a lot. And this season was a prime example of, we had just an insane amount of injuries. Like we had a broken collarbone, a 5th concussion, a girl fractured her foot, refractured her foot after she healed, 2 meniscus tears, an ACL tear, numerous knee injuries where they were out for 2-3 weeks. A girl rolled her ankle and she was out for a month. So basically we didn't have a starting squad. So we need to make sure that we have support in our bench that understands the importance of a bench. So just because you're not getting minutes doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't important. So whether you're starting or not, Like, we don't like to play into favorites. However, what you do challenges those better players. So if you're not putting your effort in practice, as I was saying earlier, things you can control, you're not challenging those players that are going to be starting that week. So we need those players to push themselves every single day. We need players to push themselves the best way they can and push those top players. So yeah, injuries, family matters, sickness, like there were other, like a lot of those injuries came from games. And those are things as coaches we can't control. So, if it's, it was definitely a little bit tougher of a season, but as coaches, if girls are getting injured in practice, that's one thing, because then we have to change how we coach. But because of games, like, we necessarily can't control what other teams are going to do to our players. So that's the only tough part, and that's why we want to carry a big roster.
Okay. Well, can you talk a little bit more about just I know you have a head coach. I don't know if there's any other assistants, but a little bit about the staff and your guys' style of coaching.
Yeah. So I'm the assistant, the head coach, Lugo Arenas. It's just me and him. Our style of coaching is we like to be able to relate, talk to the players, make them understand why we do things. We're not going to ever tell a player, oh, do this because I say so. That doesn't really teach anything. We like to explain the reason why behind everything, just so that there's a clear understanding. If it doesn't make sense to them, then we have to figure out another way to explain it, whether it's a visual or verbal, or just new ways of being able to get them to understand what we're trying to convey, so that they can be bought into our philosophy. Also, outside of the pitch, we understand there is a lot of mental health that goes into being a student athlete. A lot of us, or a lot of the girls, will come into our office and they'll talk to us about everything, whether it be life, things that are going on at home, even if it is about soccer. But they'll come into the office, which is nice because they know they have a place that they can go to. So we as coaches like to provide that support to our players. We won't ever shy away from them. We even like to do a lot of team bondings. So throughout the season, this past season, we did like a scavenger hunt. We'll break the girls up into teams and we'll give them clues, and they have to go take a selfie with where that clue is in town. And then when they send that picture over and they get it right, then we'll give them the next clue. So then by the end of it, they're going throughout town trying to race, obviously being safe, but then they'll get to the final destination and we'll have, like a little team hangout for a little bit. But then we'll do stuff like Family Feud, Jeopardy, a movie night in the little lounge we have in our office. We'll do barbecues at Coach's house. So we try to make it enjoyable for the girls and give them a positive experience.
Oh, that's great. Well, like as we said, we're talking here December 1st, so the off season has started. Although I know everybody's off seasons are a little bit different. So can you tell me what you guys, just big picture, will do between now and the start of next season?
Yeah. So we have 12 weeks. Obviously, we're off right now, that we can use. 4 of those weeks are going to come in January. We're going to break the girls up into teams. They'll basically play futsal, and no coaching involved. They just compete against each other, get touches on the ball. Whoever wins get at the end of the season. They'll have the season. We'll have a tournament. Winner gets to sign their name on the trophy. So just a little bragging rights for them. Makes it fun, makes it competitive. The girls love it. We'll take off February, and then we'll finish our 12 weeks, March and April, and that'll be a little bit more. That's going to be taken more serious. So we're going to do lifting. I think it's 3 days a week, and then practice 2 days a week. So because it's cold, we'll be playing futsal, and practicing just technique and getting touches right. We have futsal balls inside, so it's nice to see a different form of the game for the girls. And then we're also able to have 4 games. So we'll schedule those for the girls so that they're still testing their skills.
Okay. Well, we've kind of talked about a lot of different things, but I always like to end these the same way. And that's, what didn't we talk about? Whether it's in the recruiting side, something about the school or the team, or if there's anything else you want to talk about, I can give you the last word.
Yeah, I don't have too much. I usually try to go over everything just so it's kind of clear and understanding. A lot of stuff you understand, from coaching comes on the fly. So if anybody ever does have questions, we're always open. We're always willing to learn. We're always willing to know what we can do better as coaches. So, respect for us, like part of our core values. I went into it talking about work rate. That's our first one, because we call it WAR. So work rate, accountability, respect. Those are our core values of the team. I went over work rate. Accountability for us as coaches is extremely important. If girls, as I was saying, aren't going to practice and class and everything, I mentioned earlier, we don't have favorites. If they're not doing that stuff, they just don't start. So it's good, because that gives players that are coming in opportunity. So even if you're a senior player, they understand, like, oh, I need to go to class. Oh, I can't be missing practice, because then that's going to open up opportunity for a different player. So everybody has to be able to do that every day. The girls will hold each other accountable, and like, hey, you weren't at practice, you're not starting, you need to be at practice. So the girls hold each other accountable, so we don't have to anymore, which is great to see, because that's just the culture that that I get to be a part of now, since I've only been here 1 season, but the culture that the head coach has created. Plus, it's not like we're trying to catch the girls out. It's more, we want to hold them accountable and give them life experiences. So if they're, let's say they're working their job and they miss work or show up late, work's going to hold them accountable. And so for us, we want to relate that to a real life experience and hold them accountable in those situations. So why should we start a player that isn't going to practice, isn't going to class, isn't treating her teammates well? So for us, that's extremely important, because we want to give those kids life skills, so when they graduate, they can just hop right in, like, oh, I have good work rate, okay, I can know how to communicate to my boss, I know how to be on time, just things like that it's not always about soccer, but it's giving kids the skills they need to be successful in life.
Yeah.
And which falls to the last thing, which respect. Straightforward, respect is, for us, it's a two-way street. So coaches will respect you, you respect your coaches, respect your teammates, respect the culture, respect the community, the environment, just respect everything. And at the end of the day, pretty simple, don't be disrespectful, because respect is earned.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, really appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck in this off season and getting ready for next year, and looking forward to see how you guys do in the fall, and really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it.
Thank you.